Hello again, this is Aaron, and I'm continuing my theme here with the 12 Days of Christmas, and now we are on day 5. Day 5, as the song goes, is the 5 golden rings, and we're just going to go ahead and jump into it. The 5th day of Christmas is, as the song goes, 5 golden rings. Uh, Now, this was actually not what it was originally called. It was 5 gold rings, and over time kind of morphed. Probably because of the way the song is sung, it sounds better to say golden than gold. So, what does this mean? What does this mean? Well, they are representative of the first 5 books of the Bible, which is the Pentateuch, or if you were Jewish, it would be the Torah. Of course, if you were Jewish, then you might not care so much about Christmas, from a religious standpoint, at least. So, the first 5 books. This is again a gift that my true love, which is God, gave to us, and those books, of course, are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, which thankfully remembered. So the rings then, I don't think there's anything specific that references, but the day itself, we talk about who it's associated with or what, because each of these days is it is attached to someone from biblical history. This one's a little different from what I understand. And again, you have to remember that the song, the hymn, it's not really a hymn. I guess it's just a little song. Came about in the 1600s, so in England. So there is a bit of an English slant, and to some of this. So the 5th day celebrates Thomas Becket, or specifically his faith. Now, he was the Archbishop of Canterbury in what was it again? In the 1160s, 1170. He died at 1170, and he died at the hands of King Henry II of England, who purportedly had him murdered or assassinated for daring to excommunicate some of his people. I think himself too, as the Archbishop of Canterbury. He had the ability to do that sort of thing. So obviously, and he had worked, with King Henry II a number of times. However, what happened was that the heir apparent, Henry the Young King, he was crowned, and that was seen as a breach of privilege for the church, that the church was supposed to be able to do that. And so in 1170, he excommunicated the 3 people who did this, which I believe is Roger de Pont-Levenique, Gilbert Folioy, and Jocelyn de Bohon, which is probably terrible pronunciation. So, sorry for that. So, as a result of this, the belief was that Henry II had Becket murdered, but it seems to be in question that at least some historians believe that he didn't actually say that he said, 'cause the thought was he said something along the lines of, "Will no one rid me of this priest?" Whereas the different version seems to be more that he is insulting all of the people that were underneath him as the king, because they allowed this priest to insult him. So as a result, there were 4 knights. Again, this was a very feudal time, so there were knights. The 4 knights went to assassinate him. They tried to give him a chance to go to the king, and he refused. and so then they attacked him straight out in the church that he was in. So, as a result of this, after a number of years, the excuse me, the Pope Alexander made him a canon, or canonized him and made him made him a canon. Wow, made him a saint, which is fast. Most people aren't made saints that quickly, so I don't know if the process has changed over time. All I know is that it takes a while, because of all the different steps to be considered a saint. It's very lengthy. Well, he was made a saint, and I think even King Henry II went to his tomb to apologize, to seek forgiveness. The four knights who killed Becket were as a way to try to seek to do some sort of act of penance, because they were excommunicated, of course. They weren't caught. They kind of just went on their own way, and the Henry II didn't really do anything to stop them. He didn't help them either, but he was probably in kind of an odd position. But anyway, Pope Alexander excommunicated them. The four wanted to seek forgiveness because it's difficult being excommunicated by the Catholic Church as a knight. And so as a result, he ordered, the Pope ordered the four assassins to serve as knights in the Holy Lands, which actually kind of inspired an order called the Knights of St. Thomas, which then sort of became the Teutonic Knights, which, if you know anything about the orders of knights, the Teutonic Knights are pretty much the most well-known. So that is an extremely long story related to Thomas Becket, but he deserves some sort of explanation, because it's interesting that of the different people that we'll mention, and there are some other people, his is very, kind of specific. So it is very likely that a lot of these things will be Catholic centered, but that's fine. Everything came from Catholicism as far as Christianity anyway. We shouldn't shy away from that, even if we are not Catholic, Protestant here. So now, with all that said, for the fifth day of Christmas, what would we think about in giving somebody something? Now, it could be simple. 5 golden rings. This jewelry would be a very quick one. If you had something like that you were looking at, boom, there you go. I'm sure a child wouldn't mind getting a necklace instead of a ring, that sort of thing, but that would work. You could be related to the first 5 books of the Bible. I think that one's tricky because there's a lot of history and a bit of law there, and I doesn't really feel like gifting. But it might be worthwhile to look back at something, giving somebody something about the beginning of a relationship that they had. Because very much our beginning of our relationship with God starts in Genesis. I'm not sure if... Yeah, so before the world was created, what else could you do? Anyway, our beginning all started there. So there's something you could do there. It could also be based on just faith, which I know is a hard one. But to think about what Thomas Becket did... He died for his faith. Now, there's a political struggle in the Catholic Church with the English government. And so we know it isn't just the simple. He wasn't just somebody who was standing up for faith. He was standing up for political privilege. But he died for the church. If you have 4 knights show up, now they weren't armored when they first talked to him. They went back and got their armor, because I guess that's how that works. But to have somebody, to see them and then tell you to go somewhere and you say no, you're probably thinking, okay, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to get killed, because you don't usually say no to kings, even though you have the power of an archbishop and all that. But that didn't work out for him, although he didn't get made a martyr. He was martyred and made a saint. So if you aren't him and think about him, you might think that worked out for him, but so it could be an act of faith too. I would lean more towards, just with the way that these gifts going, trying to do something kind of nice and shiny. That could be cool. my own Christmas present that would probably fall most into this was something I got for myself, which doesn't really count for as a Christmas present, I suppose, but it's a nice uh, framed picture that I put up on the wall of the cross. Again, shiny, nice. It's not a golden ring, but that's the sort of thing that pops up into my head. So, anyway, that is the history of the fifth day of Christmas. I want to thank you again for listening, and hopefully this is of some use to you. If it is, that's great. I'm learning things myself as I'm going along here, and hopefully this all can lead us towards a greater appreciation of the 12 days of Christmas and a greater celebration, just going beyond the normal gift giving, which is great, but to give things that have a deeper meaning so that they will not be forgotten so easily. Thank you.